We have the internet. We've created this thing, the internet, where you can transfer information and do all this stuff. And what have we done with the internet? I've got a chicken breast that looks like the Pope. The dead Pope. You want to impress me? Get a chicken breast that'll look like the next Pope. Then I'll start bidding on eBay. You've probably seen this kind of weirdo stuff on the internet and television as well. However, you're one of those people out there who says, I'm into psychics, I get psychics. And you've seen those cop shows or crime shows where also they call in a psychic to help them in the investigation. But it doesn't really happen because it's TV and it's generally a lie. It's rare when the cops call in a psychic. And even more rare for the police to actually credit a psychic with solving an investigation. But that very thing happened in Canada. And so the Hour's Kim Dion flew to Nelson, BC to talk to a guy who's being credited by the cops for using his psychic powers to help them find a body.
I tend to distance myself from the word psychic because I find there's a lot of sort of preconceived notions or what I would consider negative connotations associated with the word psychic. But the word intuitive for me is a more natural sort of description of what everybody has. Like we talk about women's intuition, or I knew that was going to happen. And that's just intuition. I worked on a case locally. A girl went missing about a year ago. The police found her vehicle, but they really didn't know what else had happened. Several days after she went missing, when I first heard about the case, I did a couple of meditations, asking for information and clearing my mind and going for walks in the woods. Amazingly enough, I did receive information. And so I decided to phone the police. I said, I've got some information. I gave it to him, and I think he was a little taken aback because all the details proved to be accurate. And he said, wow, amazing, how soon can you get involved? And I said, well, let's start now. And in the course of looking and getting involved in those first few days, her spirit came to me and we started to communicate quite easily and clearly, and we started a journey together of trying to recover her. She basically guided me to where she was, and I recovered her clothes. And then a couple of days later, we went in again and recovered her remains.
I'm getting filmed kissing.
One of the things that comes across with people, and maybe they're even surprised sometimes when they meet me, is that I'm a pretty grounded, ordinary guy.
You gotta leave it all on the ice. That's right, leave it all on the ice.
There's really no pretense or separation where I'm trying to be something and you're not, or I'm special and you're not.
Not all the hockey guys know because I'm kind of private about it, but the guys that you know, even if they don't understand what being psychic is all about and stuff, they like to tease me about it, certainly. But mostly they know me, and they know the kind of guy I am, so they just sort of accept it, because I think they like it. Yay.
Sound like them.
The way most people think about it is, do I see somebody standing here in the room as clearly as I see you, or my son, or my wife? And once in a while, yes. But more often than not, it's more like I'm seeing them in my inner vision, in my mind's eye. When I go into the woods, the only busyness is my head. When my mind slows down and gets quiet enough, I start to hear the thoughts that sort of slide in behind my own, and it's communication from spirits. And often when they're coming to me, it's the spirits of missing people, people that were declared missing here and haven't been found, and usually something, you know, maybe nothing is known about where they went. So they seek me out to get involved in their case and try to find them. And it might not be as easy as knowing the exact words, but right away you can put your finger on it and go, I know what they're saying, I know what they want. You know, this spirit wants to be found, something happened to her, feels like an abduction, feels like a rape, feels like a murder. While it can be emotional to have a vision or impressions around a murder, especially if I feel the victim's desperation or final moments, or for that matter, the chaotic emotions and thinking, or lack of thinking of a perpetrator in an example like that, it can be really emotional, but mostly I've learned to distance myself from that and not let it get in the way, and just try to be as effective and as clear as I possibly can be. Hi. I can't will spirits to come in. They have free will the same as we do. They'll do what they want to do. If they want to communicate, they will. But I can't think of too many opportunities that they've had where they don't want to communicate. I mean, for them, it's a big thing to be able to communicate with somebody in the physical world because most people aren't paying attention to this. It's not that I'm that special. I've just done lots of development work to get to a place where I can hear them, feel them, and communicate with them.
The true life story happening here in Nelson, BC. Kim, if I played hockey and I was a psychic, I would get like 7,000 goals. Or 7,000, I'd always know which way the goalie was going.
It's true based on those ideas of being a psychic, but it's not really like that the way you read about it and the way you see about it. It's different. It's more of a, like the way he describes it, it's intuition and the intuitive guidance to maybe talk to spirits, not necessarily to read your mind or...
You're like, dude, I was open. He's like, I know. What's interesting about that, he said he tries to separate himself from the emotion of it, but you looked in his eyes, you hung around with him. Yeah. The burden, the kind of emotional burden that he must be under, if that's actually true, did you sense any of that?
No, not now. It seems like he's at a point where he's at peace with it. He talked about, like, he had this seminar when I was in Nelson, and he talked about it first happening and kind of driving along and feeling like this evil presence, and that was not cool. So he didn't want to have these, what he claims to, he didn't want to have these powers, or he didn't want to do any of this, so he ignored it. He was like a ski bum in Banff for like 15 years. He's really sporty. He just didn't want to deal with it, but in the last 3 years, he's felt that he can just really develop this and use it for good, I guess.
There's a lot of people at home who are watching this, people in here, and I know, a lot of people who are cynical and don't get it, and that's fine, or don't believe it or whatever. Yeah. Okay, so this guy calls the cops and through some weird power knows where the body is. Yeah. I mean, the first reaction is he did it. Did he do it? How does he know where the body is?
Yeah, I know. I think that's a big reaction with like psychics in general. People are kind of going, well, if you know all those things, you must have done it. This was not a foul play. Like, this was not a murder, so it's not a question of that. It's not nice, but it's not a murder. So there's nothing going on that way, and it's just one of those things.
That's an interesting story, and I'll tell you, when the cops give them credit for it, that's when people start to pay attention.
Exactly.
Because it makes it really interesting.
That's what caught my attention.
Kim, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Kim Dion from The Hour. Kim is going to be here all week. You'll probably see us floating around the city in Vancouver if you're here. Still to come on today's program, stuff that you really need to know. The Pope. We're talking about the Pope here. A lot of people are interested. A lot of people are betting on who the Pope will be. We here at The Hour have done our research, and we think we've come up with a pretty comprehensive list.
1E6. Our email address is sunday@cbc.ca, or you can call our toll-free number 1-866-285-1818. You can also reach us online anytime. Our website address is cbc.ca/Sunday. You see that picture, Carol, there. You don't look as cold in that web picture, Carol, as you're looking this morning in Calgary. Is it chilly out there?
I am toasty warm.
You are toasty warm.
They treat me so well here. I just love it. They've set up heaters. I have lights like you wouldn't believe, and the sun is starting to come up.
So are you coming home? Are you ever coming back?
I don't know. If I find a horse out here, I might just stay.
That's right. All right. I was just thinking about that that whole animal, that simian story we just brought you, and who's on the ladder there. I don't know, Carol. You and I will discuss our
where we are
our taxonomy on the evolutionary scale after.
I think some of our audience might have something to say about that.
Yeah, okay. Now, coming up, what would it take to make our election front page news in the United States? We certainly love to watch American politics, but do they watch Canadian politics, and what do they think about what's going on up here? You'll find out in our second hour. And then, it's like a theme today. We have more monkeys. We're going to show you the apes who have become huge stars on German television, a different take on reality TV over there. And we'll also see if feminism today is less of a movement and more of a sales pitch. But first, come back, and we're going to meet a man who's made it his business to talk to the dead. Stay with us.
Holy smokes, you get a big vibration when I look at this. It's really neat how it works, because the spirits just love to be acknowledged. I mean, it makes them real for people, and that's really important.
I'm glad that I met you.
Yeah, thanks for having me.